Hello guys and welcome back to the Western Journal. Today's news report is titled The New Western Province of India. Indians have made a core part of Canadian society. The first Indian pioneers to settle Canada date back to the time after Confederation. Sikh Punjab is settled in what is now today British Columbia. In fact, one member of the Indian Sikh community even fought in World War I. However, in recent times, Indians have gone from being one fragment of the great tapestry that is Canadian multiculturalism to dominate what is now today Canadian society. For those of you who have visited Canada recently, you might have noticed something. Many more Indians have immigrated to Canada. This is a different wave of immigration from what we saw in the 1970s to 2000s. These Indians aren't here to assimilate and partake in Canadian multiculturalism. They're here to dominate and have Canadians assimilate into Indian customs. Just ask a resident of Indian-dominated areas. During Diwali, it's hard to sleep at night as Indians in your neighborhood are busy cracking fireworks in their backyards and in the streets. It's fine if they go into a park and do it, maybe at 8 p.m. But what is the purpose of cracking fireworks at 12 o'clock a.m. at night? This may be a custom in India, but why has this become a custom in Canada as well? Has Canada become India's most western province? The answer may surprise you. Head to the streets of Toronto. Almost every other person you'll see is Indian, not South Asian. Simply Indian. Over half of Canadian international students, or rather, international students that come to Canada and study, are from India. There's an entire economy built to get international students to come to Canada, and an international student visa to PR pipeline built up. Let's explore this economy and pipeline. First, you're a youngster in rural India, maybe Punjab, maybe Gujarat. You're at your prime age to work and build your family wealth. However, wait a minute. Contrary to Modiji's promises, there are no jobs. Think about it. 1.7 billion Indians, but a $3 trillion economy, there's bound to be a lack of jobs. So you heard about your cousin, or maybe someone in your village. They sold their land and went to Canada as an international student 5 years ago. And today they're enjoying Canadian citizenship and sending home dollars. Not only have they bought back their land they mortgaged, but they also have built 2 or 3 more houses in India, not to mention their home in Canada as well. This is the Indian dream. That's right, it's not in India. The Indian dream is to escape India and build a life abroad, preferably in the United States. But since America doesn't prostitute its visas, I guess Canada will do for now. So you go to an immigration agent, and they tell you, no worries, citizenship or PR is guaranteed if you get the Canadian student visa. However, you first must pass an English proficiency exam called IELTS. And fortunately for you, the Indian education system is one of the world's worst. And the average IQ in India is 74. So the immigration agent helps you submit fraudulent papers, and the idiotic Canadian government accepts it. Now that you got your student visa, you must collect the funds. Your family mortgages what little they had in India and put all the pressure on you to go abroad and not only make that money back, but also possibly sponsor them or build them a better life in India off Canadian dollars. Of course, after mortgaging your land, you're on your flight to Canada. Don't take Air India though, or else the toilets may be clogged. All this was just one part of the shady international student to PR pipeline economy. The next half happens in Canada. As an international student, you can't afford the stay in Canada. Canadians themselves can't afford Canada. So you jam up in a basement with your fellow Indians with 9 other Indian international students. You all get part-time jobs, maybe at Tim Hortons or someplace else. And you begin attending one of the sham colleges in Canada. After 2 years in your hospitality degree, you graduate from international student to work visa. This is where you start making the money back your family mortgaged. With this work visa, you start driving a truck. Although you're not qualified to drive for a Canadian truck company, one of your fellow Indo-Canadians will employ you, knowing they can pay you half of what the going wage is for a truck driver. The Canadian roads get even more dangerous. While you start earning some serious cash in Indian rupees, to save some money, you still live with your 9 other roommates. Finally, after 2 years on a work visa, you get your PR. You cross the finish line. You have successfully become a Canadian permanent resident. This is the story, or rather, the dream of many Indian international students in Canada. They don't really care for Canadian education. After all, Canada doesn't have the best universities or schools in the world. No one's gonna give double the amount of tuition just to get a degree in Canada of all places. Pretty soon, you'll be able to get a Canadian passport. And with that, even more doors open for you. With the Canadian passport, you can now apply to the United States for immigration not as an Indian like millions of your countrymen have, but as a Canadian. However, the United States is strict. Only the top of Canadian Indian international students can go from Canada to the United States. The bulk of them remain in Canada, where there is little housing and opportunity. Canada's former Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has opened up the floodgates. In the past year alone, up to 1 million Indians have been imported into Canada. If this continues, Canada surely will become the new Western province of India. Not to mention the fact that many Indians and their children who immigrated from the 1970s to 2000s are reminded every day why they left India in the streets of Canada. Today's modern Canada is just an extension of India at this point, with little opportunity, no money, no direction, increased filthiness, increased noise pollution, Hindu-Sikh riots, as well as the expectation to fit into the Indian norm rather than the Canadian. This has been a news report by the Western Journal.